Okay, we are live, starting a couple of minutes too early. I hope that's okay. Yeah, we're going to get into geopolitical stuff now in this live stream. Hope that you can all hear me and that you can see me. That I hope everything's working. And I have some numbers for you. Hi there, West Comps. Good to see you. Sue Scott, Pilot Whale. Okay, yes, you can hear me. That's wonderful. At the moment, negotiations are ongoing between Trump and Putin. I think that's basically what's going on now. And they are going to carve up Ukraine. And part of that deal, I believe, will be for the USA to get access to not precious metals, but rare minerals, earth minerals. That's what they need, you know. So, first of all, take a look at my cup, gifted to me. I love your dad jokes. It's the first dad cup I have ever received, so I was very, very happy about that. Yeah, so here's what I think will happen. I might be wrong, but yeah, okay, let me just say hello to the good people here. First of all, I love this community. You are so awesome. Angela, KP Heathen, Paul, Wesley, such a bunyip. David, hi there. Yes, I'm hearing you. I see you. Yeah, okay. So here's what I think is going to happen. And actually, I have to say that what we are seeing now is not a good thing. When Europe is kept outside of those negotiations, well, Europe outside of Russia. Russia is part of Europe and Asia, of course, but it's not going to end well because it's not going to be accepted by Europe, I think. And also, it's interesting what's happening because if we look back at history, there are some similarities. Where did they meet? Stalin, when they carved up Europe, they just drew borders on the map. Stalin, Churchill, and the other guy. Well, basically, it didn't really end well, did it? So what's going to happen is, or let's put it this way, these negotiations are being done from a place of where you think that Europe can't defend itself, that it needs the USA to wage war against Russia. That's not correct. Roosevelt, oh, thank you. Yeah. I'll say it again, or I'll put it this way. Europe without the USA is absolutely capable to keep a war going against Russia. And I will add to that, sadly, because I fear that that's what's going to happen, or that we will get a peace treaty that will not last. And then the war will start again, or it will pop up somewhere else, and you will have Europe, except Europe without the aid of the USA, waging war against Russia. But so my statement here is that Europe does not need the USA to keep a war going. And I'll give you some numbers here. But first of all, I want to ask you now that I've said this, you know where I'm going with this, okay? And please, I'm not trying to say that, oh, the USA is weak or anything like that. This is actually, I'm not happy about this. I'm not happy about this situation at all. I mean, come on, it's not a pissing contest here. Excuse my language. Um, and you know, let me ask you guys, and I think there are many people from the USA here and Canada and well, North America, because of it's 6 o'clock in the morning here in Norway. So which one do you think is the strongest? Which one do you think has the strongest military? The USA or NATO, European NATO countries without the USA? Which one do you think? Let me know in the chat. Which one has the most military power? Okay. I should be more correct. Canada is part of NATO, right? So NATO without the USA or the USA? Which one is the most powerful? Has the most powerful military? I don't have the numbers for Russia right here, but that is okay. Well, we have people saying NATO without the USA, and we have people saying the USA. So I have numbers here from armedforces.eu. So I'll quickly go through the numbers. First of all, military budget. The USA has a military budget of $916 billion. $916 billion. So we're talking about one of the largest industries in the world right there. It's a massive number. And I'm going to say NATO. If I say NATO, just NATO, I mean NATO without the USA, but I'll try to remember to say NATO without the USA. Okay. NATO without the USA has $422.7 billion as a military budget. Okay. So just looking at those numbers, oh wow, Unending Earthling, welcome as a member to the channel. Welcome. So let's move on. Looking at those numbers, you would think that, well, the USA is the strongest by far. John says, and 90% is laundered. Yeah, well, there is something there. Okay. But now it gets interesting and cruel. Active personnel. The USA has 1,358,500. So almost 1.4 million active personnel. NATO without the USA has 1,940,439. So almost 2 million active personnel. Let's move on. It gets even more interesting. Reserve personnel. Okay, I'm on that statistic. I'm reserve personnel. I don't want to, but I'm on a list, you know. So the USA has 799, so almost 800,000 reserve personnel. almost 800,000. NATO without the USA has nearly 2 million reserve personnel. So let's see here. Let's see if this is, there's a number here. I don't actually know what that means. Available for military, it says. 73 million in the USA and 138 million. Oh, yeah, that's if they just grab all the people that can fight, capable of fighting. And NATO without the USA has 140 million people. Land forces. The USA has 5,652 tanks. The NATO without the USA has 6,823 tanks. So more. Armored fighting vehicles. The USA. I'll just give you the approximate numbers. Okay. For simplicity, the USA has 38,000. NATO without the USA has 46,000. Total artillery, the USA has 3,000. NATO without the USA has 10,000. Self-propelled and you see where this is going, right? Self-propelled artillery, the USA has 1,500. NATO without the USA has 3,000, so double. Rocket artillery, the USA has 700. NATO without the USA has 1,000. Air forces, the USA has 13,000. NATO without the USA has 8,000. Fighters, fighter planes, I believe. The USA has 377. NATO has 527 multi-role planes. The USA 2,500. NATO without the USA 1,500. Attack planes 500 on the USA and 100 on NATO without the USA. Helicopters 5,000 on the USA, 3,000 on NATO without. The USA, combat drones 400 on the USA, 500 on NATO without the USA. Navy, total naval crafts 467 on the USA, 1,800 on NATO without the USA. Now I could go on, and it seems like it's not as simple as saying that, oh, the USA is the strongest. When you look at the numbers, that's not true. But I'm not a military expert, of course, so I don't really know what goes into these numbers. But looking at the numbers, I think that with certainty we can say that Europe is more than capable of keeping a war in Europe going for a long time. And again, this is not, excuse my language, a pissing contest. It's just me sharing some numbers with you. And when you listen to these politicians that are talking now about the future of Europe and the future of Ukraine, the future of the war or the end of the war, what they are saying, and I actually think that they are being very truthful here, is that it would be a very big disadvantage if the USA moves out, pulls out of the war. But it would not mean that the war would end because of that. And I think they are correct when they are saying that. That is what the military strategists are saying as well. And I have to admit, I was wrong, because I thought, and I think I've said so as well, that the war in Ukraine will end when the USA stops giving weapons and supporting that war with money and weapon. But sadly, I think it will keep going without the USA. Um, and the biggest, I don't know what to call it, the biggest advantage, it's not an advantage, the biggest reason why I think that they can keep the war going is that they have access to so many people. In Europe, it's quite common to have, mandatory military conscription. And yeah, so, I hate this. I hate this situation. But someone's asking here, does Europe manufacture its own weaponry? Yeah, of course. Of course. There's a big weapons factory in Norway. You drive past it when you drive up into the mountains to go skiing. And please stop. We stop this. Yeah, I know the title is a little bit clickbaity, but I'm trying to explain here. This is just sharing some numbers on, and you can make up your own mind. And someone's writing, I can't see Europe sending its soldiers to Ukraine. They are already doing that. That was yesterday. Keir Starmer is discussing where to send British soldiers, in Ukraine. So, I mean, come on. So this is interesting, and I think that if you look at the numbers, it's quite obvious that it's not even. I wouldn't be so sure if I had to bet who would win a war between NATO without the USA and the USA. Now, hopefully, such a conflict will never happen. Did they say? Okay, Britain, they said they confirmed it. They will be sending troops to Ukraine. Okay. Yeah. That's how a war spreads, isn't it? So my main point here is that what it looks like now is that the war will keep going if Europe wants it to keep going. And that's why I think it's extremely foolish. This is my opinion. It's extremely foolish what Trump is doing now to try to make a peace deal with Putin without involving Europe. Now, I get why they are trying to do it like that, because it's easier. But the problem is that if Europe does not accept that peace treaty or whatever they end up with, that's just